We have a number of tools and trackers at bookiebashing.net. In the drop down for tools, I'm going to have a look at this top one, the Game Center. This is a really powerful football model. It can be used for trading, it can be used for benchmarking, value betting. So tonight we can pick any of these leagues. I mean, there's Bulgarian A League and Belgian reserves, but let's have a look at the La Liga match tonight on this Monday between Celta Vigo and Levante. And if we select that game, we see the correct score market populates. We calculate this correct score market between 0-0 and 2020. And because we've got between 0-0 and 2020, and we have an exactly efficient price probability for every scoreline, we can add them all up and get fair odds for Celta Vigo to win, BTTS, Celta Vigo to win, and BTTS, a heap of markets here. Celta Vigo win both halves, win to nil, score both halves. We've got dozens, I think actually hundreds of football markets here. So quickly describe what it's doing. It is working out 0-0 to 2020 in the 90-minute market. So we can create our own correct scores here. So let's say 5-2 is 285.92. That's the probability there. We could group a few together. So 5-2 or 3-1, 4-1 or 5-1 is 11.18. We can do this for the 90-minute period or any time period. For example, half time. Less likely, the odds are 86.85. One of these three correct scores will be at half time, or even, between the 10th minute and the 45th minute, or the 10th minute and the 19th minute, which would be rather unlikely. 3-1 or 4-1, that's a lot of goals to fit into a 6-minute period. So we can pick any period of the game. And because we know the 90-minute market for any period of the game, that's how we're able to add up the correct scores to come out with these popular markets at the top. Or we could look at our match odds, correct score, Asian handicap from plus minus 0.5 to plus minus 6.5, even things like over under goals. So over 1.5 goals is 1.344. I'm going to switch over to the exchange now. And we see in Celta Vigo Levante, over under 1.5 goals is 1.34 to back, 1.36 to lay. So slightly gappy there. But we know that if we're able to lay at 1.34, we could back at 1.35. Okay, I mean, these are really marginal numbers here because it's a very liquid market. But we could look at less liquid markets. For example, match odds and BTTS. We see here Celta Vigo to win and BTTS is 4.22. Celta Vigo to win and BTTS, it's a little bit gappy between 4.1 and 4.4. But if we were able to back up at 4.4, we'd get ourselves a value bet, same as laying down at 4.1. And that should be possible today because we have a bet tracker that tracks a load of standard markets and boosts. If I open up the bet tracker today, it's a quiet football day, but one of the bets out there is Bet365 Celta Vigo to win and BTTS here. That's been boosted to 4.5. So just perhaps there might be a load of arbors on the exchange laying at 4.4. We know we've got a 4.4, 4.22 value bet there. So we can trade on the exchange. We can bet higher than the fair odds. We can back at and we can lay lower than the fair odds. We can also use this for benchmarking boosts when the exchange isn't liquid, or in this case, it's kind of gappy, but it's definitely biased. So the exchange doesn't give us a very good price in these biased markets that have boosts, but we can use the Game Center to come up with the fair odds to 4 significant figures. Right? So 4.220 or 13.50. We're getting this to 4 significant figures. So how are we doing this? Just to give some background of this. This is a hybrid model, the Game Center. By that I mean we both build the 0-0 to 2020 market ourselves for Celta Vigo and Levante, but then we hinge off any smart money that's out there. So we know the XG for this match. It's in our XG database, the goals database, which will tell you the XG of every game. And we know the expected goals for Celta Vigo and Levante. And we take those expected goals from the markets. We look at the over 2.5 price on a liquid Betfair exchange, and we can work out the match XG based on that price. And if it's not liquid in the exchange, we can look elsewhere. And we can split between the home and away using an algorithm that we have. So we're always looking at the markets and hinging off the markets. We ourselves at Bookiebashing, we don't look at La Liga and think we know how many goals will be scored in this game. I think it would be foolish or irresponsible for us to do that when there is information and smart money out there that does it for us. So we hinge the goals in the game against liquid markets, and then we build up 0-0 to 2020 using an algorithm that is based around a Poisson distribution, but it is a weighted Poisson distribution. It takes account of bias for 0-0. And not only that, once we've gone from 0-0 to 2020, we then look at the exchanges and we say, is there any information out there for 1-0? Is the exchange correct score market liquid for 1-0, for 1-1? And if it is, we use that information. Again, we would be foolish and irresponsible to ignore the smart money. So we benchmark all of our correct score figures against the exchange, and where there are any gaps, you're not going to get a correct score figure for 2020, we fill in with our own correct score between 0-0 and 2020, ensuring that we distribute the market effectively with the information that we have so that it always equals 100%. And that's why we are returning, Celta Vigo 1.741. We see 1.72 to 1.73. I've got a small delay in my Betfair, so that's likely going to catch up just because I've got a bit delay on my Betfair screen, right? And we see Levante 5.805. 5.8 to back 5.9. So when it's liquid, we're always able to match what the exchange says. When it's illiquid, that's when this comes up to fruition. That's where the power of the game center is. We can now get liquid fair prices with no bias for win both halves, win to nil, Asian handicaps, just a heap of different markets down here. And as mentioned, this is a powerful tool for trading on the exchange. It's a powerful tool for benchmarking boosts, because when you've got a boost out there, such as Celta Vigo to win in BTTS, just because the exchange says it's 4.4 lei, doesn't mean that it's 4.4 lei, especially when you get these markets out there that are biased. Boulogne to win and both teams to score 5.5 at the bookmaker 4.68 fair odds. We might be able to trade 5.2, 5.3, 5.4 if the layers are laying that price. And also we can have a look at standard markets. We use the game center actually to look at standard markets on football coupons and shops. We look at football coupons such as score both halves. Celta Vigo to score both halves is 2.95. Well, look at the exchange. Score both halves isn't even a market on the exchange. Now this becomes really powerful because a lot of the times the bookmaker restricts punters when they think the punter is taking a price at the bookmaker that is higher than is available on the exchange. Well, we monitor all these coupons where there isn't even a market on the exchange, right? So the bookmaker doesn't know how we're winning. It's almost as if we've got our own private exchange here, and all of the markets for all of these games are completely liquid without any bias. And that is how, as value bettors, we are able to take advantage of the bookmaker without the bookmaker even knowing what we're doing. So we can take advantage of bookmaker boosts, we can take advantage of bookmaker standard markets, and we can take advantage by trading on the exchange any backs higher than the fair odds and any lays lower than the fair odds. We can look at any number of games from French League 2 to Belgium Reserves to Slovenian Premier League. This is the correct score here for Radomiji versus Maribor at 4:30, where every single one of these markets completely efficient, fair odds returned. Were we to look at, the Slovenian Premier League on the exchange, half these markets won't be available, which means that we can take advantage at the bookmaker. They don't know how we're doing it. And when they are available, they'll all be very liquid, so we can go into this match and we can see what we can trade at the exchange. We monitor the return on investment on the Game Center. We monitor the prices against the closing lines. And what we find is that as the closing lines become liquid and efficient on the exchange, they converge into the numbers that we have. So we're predicting these numbers hours, even days before the money is coming in. That gives us a real edge and a real advantage. And as I say, we actually push bets live to the bet tracker using the Game Center numbers. We've just put up our 1,000th win both halves bet onto the bet tracker, and we estimated that the return would be 8.3% over those 1,000 bets. This is by February 2022. And the recorded return on investment was 8.1%. So, I mean, really, really confident that those numbers are matching up and that we're getting the returns based on these numbers that we would expect. So the Game Center is one of a number of tools and trackers that we have at bookiebashing.net that all update in real time. As the markets moves a couple of seconds later, all of these numbers will adjust. The final feature of the Game Center here for your own analytics, there's a couple of buttons here. You can copy the calculated markets to CSV, that's comma separated value. That'll just copy straight from there into your clipboard. You can go into Excel, you can paste that there, go into Notepad, paste that there, any of your own models, and that will copy all of these pre-calculated markets, every single one that we have on this page. Or if you simply want the correct score market, this button here, it just copies 00 to 2020 to your clipboard along with the probability. I think it copies probabilities up to about 100,000 to 1, after which we're saying it's a little bit insignificant above that point. All of the tools that we have and the trackers that we have at bookiebashing.net are all available under the 1 monthly subscription to all of our members.